So, hello, my name is Wei Sen, and today I'll be talking about our portals and dimensions. So, the theory that I've chosen is actually Matthew Carmona's The Six Dimensions of Urban Design. We have the morphological, perceptual, social, visual, functional, and temporal. So the morphological talks about layout and configuration of urban form and space. Perceptual talks about the awareness and appreciation of environmental perception, and the perception experience of a place. Social talks about by shaping the environment, urban designers can influence the patterns of human activity and social life. Visual talks about the appreciation of space and aesthetic qualities of urban space and townscape. Functional talks about how place and work and social use of the environment, and temporal talks about time cycles and the time management of activities in space, how the environmental change over time. So from the 6 dimensions, I've actually come up with a dimensional framework in the current KLCCD. So you can see that for the morphological and visual, the familiarity of the physical forms and aesthetics with the intimate scales draws people and visitors to the site. It's because it's different from, I'll explain this later. And the perceptual experience of the place does not retain people. This is due to what is being provided in the space, especially for the functional and temporal that is available at site. It doesn't allow people to stay longer. It does not retain people. And so, of course, there's also an issue of the public spaces that are not conducive. They are not shaded. Green spaces that are shaded. So there's not a lot of activities during the daytime. And so this results in public spaces in KLCCD is not conducive in helping to create diverse communities that would sustain KLCCD in the long term. So let's talk about the morphological dimension in KLCCD. So we have diverse land uses. We have many functions of buildings and nodes, and we have short distances of walking in between buildings. So we have very walkable city, and the building structure are made out of KLCCD are made out of shop houses. Many of them are able to be adaptive reuse into restaurants and cafes and mixed-use community spaces like Rex KL. Religious buildings and historical buildings are able to survive longer, which can be seen inside various temples and central market. And the street pattern, the visual permeability of KLCCD is good due to the low 3 to 5 story shop house buildings when walking in the area. But the physical permeability is bad due to the personalization of 5 foot away and loading and unloading of goods and parkings, of course. So for more morphological sense and visual, actually, we talk more about portals. So as you can see from Madras Lane, Plank Street, and Kasturi Road, these portals are a very prominent identity of KLCCD. These are used to greet visitors and signify the entrance to a space that is different from the surrounding site. And we have religious portals, such as the Gandhi Temple, the Sri Mahariamman Temple, and the Masjid Jamid Temple. So when you enter these spaces, the atmosphere changes. It becomes somber and spiritual and changes a perception, therefore, person's actions. And we have the social portals of the 5 world, which signify the changes in the land use of shops to create a continuous shaded area for walkability and extended functions, blurring the public and private realm. The walkway is very intimate in scale, enclosing pedestrians pass through. And for the visual dimension, we have these are called time portals to me because the rhythm and pattern of the facades packed tightly into a harmonious landscape. It draws the eye of the pedestrian walking throughout the area, and the elements is what brings people to the site because these are historically significant elements which have been around for a century old and unchanged, giving a glimpse of the humble beginnings of our people. And we have the landmarks. So the portals can help frame the landmarks to allow for better navigation throughout the site, and these landmarks are already here. So you see the morphological and visual actually changes the perception of the visitors. But due to the site experience which is short term, it does not retain people. And the functional and temporal, we can see that the diversity in land use and business with the food culture and shopping center, there are less shades which allow people to stay in public during the daytime. And temporal, during the nighttime, people cannot, a lot of shops are closed, and therefore the perception changes. And then from the social aspect, you can see that third space is like kopitiams and cafes and mamas allow locals and visitors to linger. These happen throughout the day. This is the thing that we can draw from. A very Malaysian culture and integrated public life in Malaysia. So from the 6 dimensions in the portals, I drew out a dimensional framework for the urban landmark itself. So you can see on the left, the morphological and visual, the portals draws people into the site. So we need to have a good perception. Place allow people to stay longer. It retains the building. We need to create a good perception, and the program's functions and flexibility of Sen would sustain people. It will be able to sustain the social aspect plus the businesses in the area, and therefore create communities. So you can see that the functional and temporal are actually directly related, and the interaction of different arts, skills, culture, and old and new creates and innovates, because I added a digital dimension in my dimensions list. So I feel that digital dimension is very important to create the new cultures, to bring in the new cultures into the site, so that the old and new can actually live together harmoniously and have discourses. Yes, so to create and innovate, so that in the future, KLCCD itself can be a hub that actually sustain itself through these innovations and these different cultures intermingling together. So you can see that it actually starts from an individual scale and ends up in an urban scale, where the morphological and visual and perceptual are actually very personal and very individual, and goes into an urban scale where it helps the KLCCD area prosper. That's all I have today. Thank you.